When Atlanta's rising architect Janelle Brooks clashes with Dubai's most powerful heir, Zaid Al Rami, their project ignites more than ambition. But can love survive family, tradition, and scandal? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The afternoon sun blazed over Dubai, casting golden light across the meeting room where Janelle Brooks sat waiting. The air conditioning hummed quietly as she reviewed her presentation one last time. At 28, Janelle had already made a name for herself as one of Atlanta's most promising architects. This 6-month international residency was her chance to prove she belonged on the global stage. "He's coming," whispered Mariam, her liaison at the firm. "Remember what I told you about Mr. Al Rami. Don't expect much interaction. Just present your ideas and leave the talking to me." Janelle straightened her blazer over her fitted dress. Her box braids were pulled back in a neat bun, professional and polished. "I can handle difficult clients, Mariam. It's fine." "This isn't just difficult, this is Zaid Al Rami. His family practically built modern Dubai." Before Janelle could respond, the door swung open. 3 men in expensive suits walked in, followed by a taller figure whose presence immediately commanded the room. Zaid Al Rami moved with the quiet confidence of someone who never needed to prove his power. Janelle stood along with everyone else. She noticed how Zaid's dark eyes scanned the room, acknowledging each person until they reached her. For a moment, his gaze lingered, then moved away as if she were merely part of the furniture. "Mr. Al Rami, thank you for meeting with us today," Mariam began. "We're excited to present our concepts for the Palm Heights development." Zaid nodded and took his seat at the head of the table. "Let's not waste time. Show me what you've prepared." Mariam gestured to Janelle, who stepped forward with her tablet. As she connected it to the projector, she could feel Zaid's attention on her, not curious but assessing, as if trying to determine why she was the one presenting. "Good afternoon, Mr. Al Rami. I'm Janelle Brooks, lead architect for this project." Her voice was clear and confident. "Our vision for Palm Heights combines luxury with sustainability, creating a community that honors both tradition and innovation." As images appeared on the screen, Janelle explained each element of the design. Twice, she noticed Zaid whispering to the man beside him, his expression unreadable. "This concept seems Western," Zaid finally interrupted. "Palm Heights needs to represent our heritage, our values. I don't see that here." Janelle took a breath. "With all due respect, Mr. Al Rami, if you look at the details of the central plaza, you'll notice elements inspired by traditional Arabic architecture. The layout itself reflects the pattern of an oasis, with community spaces designed to foster the kind of daily interactions that are central to Emirati culture." The room fell silent. No one interrupted Zaid Al Rami. Ever. To everyone's surprise, he leaned forward. "Show me." For the next 20 minutes, Janelle walked him through the cultural influences in her design. Rather than backing down, she pointed out how she'd studied the region's architectural history and incorporated it in ways that weren't just decorative, but functional. When she finished, Zaid stood up. "Interesting perspective, Ms. Brooks, but I'm not convinced." He turned to leave, then paused. "You'll hear from us within the week." After he left, Mariam collapsed into a chair. "I can't believe you challenged him like that." "I didn't challenge him. I explained my work," Janelle replied, gathering her materials. "If he doesn't like it, we'll revise." "That's not how it works here. When someone like Zaid Al Rami says no, it's final." 3 days later, Janelle was called to the director's office. She expected to be reassigned, maybe even sent back to Atlanta. Instead, she found herself facing a new contract. "Mr. Al Rami wants you to work directly with his team," the director explained, looking as surprised as she felt. "He's requested you personally for the Palm Heights project." "Did he say why?" Janelle asked. "No, and no one asked Zaid Al Rami why about anything." The next morning, Janelle arrived at the Al Rami Group headquarters, a gleaming tower of glass and steel. As the elevator carried her to the executive floor, she reminded herself that this was just business. She was here to do a job, not to impress anyone. Zaid's office overlooked the entire city, the desert visible in the distance. He didn't look up when she entered, continuing to read something on his desk. "You wanted to see me, Mr. Al-Rami?" He finally acknowledged her presence. "Ms. Brooks, yes, take a seat." Janelle sat across from him, noting how his tailored suit emphasized his broad shoulders. There was no denying Zaid Al-Rami was an attractive man, with features that seemed carved from stone and eyes that missed nothing. "I've been reviewing your background," he said. "Harvard, top of your class, several awards for innovative urban design. Yet you chose to come to Dubai for a temporary position." "I go where the interesting projects are," she replied. "And is Palm Heights interesting enough for you?" "It could be if it's done right." The hint of a smile touched his lips. "Most people who come into this office tell me what they think I want to hear. You seem incapable of that. Would you prefer I lie about my professional opinion?" "No." His response was immediate. "That's precisely why you're here now. I don't need people who agree with everything I say. I need people who can see what I cannot." Janelle hadn't expected this. From everything she'd heard about Zaid Al-Rami, he was a traditionalist who valued loyalty above all else. "The plans you presented," he continued, "they were bold, different from what we usually approve. But there was something there, a vision of Dubai that honors the past while embracing the future." He slid a folder across the desk. "These are my notes, my concerns. Address them, and we can move forward with your concept." Janelle opened the folder, surprised by the detailed feedback. "This will take time to incorporate." "You have 2 weeks." "That's not enough time for—" "2 weeks, Ms. Brooks." His tone made it clear the timeline wasn't negotiable. "I've arranged for you to have access to our historical archives and a workspace here. You'll be working closely with my team and with me." Back in her apartment that evening, Janelle called her sister Amira. The connection crackled slightly as her sister's face appeared on the screen. "How's Dubai treating you, sis?" Amira asked. "It's complicated." Janelle explained the situation with Zaid and the project. Amira's expression grew serious. "Be careful, Janelle. Men like that don't just suddenly decide to champion someone like us without a reason." "What does that mean, someone like us?" "You know exactly what I mean. You're a black woman in a place where people like us are usually invisible. If he's suddenly taking an interest in your work, it's because I'm good at what I do," Janelle insisted. "I'm not saying you're not. But keep your guard up. Don't let yourself become his token or his exception." Janelle sighed. "It's not like that. This is strictly professional." "If you say so. But remember what Dad always told us. Don't be so hungry for a seat at the table that you forget what they are serving." "I know, Amira. I haven't forgotten." For the next week, Janelle worked longer hours than she ever had before. The Al-Rami Group's resources were impressive. Historical documents, city planning archives, and access to experts she would never have met otherwise. Every afternoon, Zaid would stop by her workspace to review her progress. Their conversations were always professional, focused on the project, but Janelle couldn't help noticing how he listened to her ideas with genuine interest. It was so different from what she'd been warned about. One evening, as she was preparing to leave, Zaid appeared at her door. "You're still here," he observed, "just finishing up some revisions to the community center design." He nodded. "Have you eaten?" The question caught her off guard. "No, not yet." "Neither have I. There's a restaurant on the ground floor. Join me." It wasn't really a request, but Janelle hesitated. "I should really get back to my apartment. I have more work to do." "The work will be there tomorrow." He checked his watch. 30 minutes, just dinner." Against her better judgment, Janelle agreed. The restaurant was elegant but not ostentatious, and to her surprise, Zaid had them seated in a quiet corner rather than in the center of the room where he would be seen. "You don't like being in public," she observed as they looked at their menus. "I value my privacy," he replied. "Success in Dubai means constant scrutiny. Every business dinner becomes gossip." "And this? Is this a business dinner?" He looked at her directly. "Does it need a label, Ms. Brooks?" "Janelle," she corrected him. "And yes, clarity is always helpful." That almost smile appeared again. "Janelle, then. And this is just dinner." Two colleagues discussing a project over food. Their conversation flowed more easily than she expected. Zaid asked about her experience in Atlanta, her education, her family. He listened attentively, revealing little about himself in return, until she directly asked, "What made you join the family business?" she inquired after their main course arrived. It wasn't a choice. It was expected. Something in his tone suggested there was more to it than duty. "And if you had a choice, what would you have done?" Zaid considered the question, as if no one had ever asked it before. "Architecture, perhaps. Or urban planning. I've always been fascinated by how cities grow, how they shape the people who live in them. That explains why you're so involved in this project." "Palm Heights will be my legacy," he admitted. "Something that's mine, not just an extension of my family's empire." By the time they finished dinner, Janelle had seen a different side of Zaid al-Rami. Still reserved, still formal, but human in a way she hadn't expected. As they walked out of the restaurant, he said, "My driver will take you home." "That's not necessary. I can call a taxi." "It's late, and you're under my company's care while you're in Dubai." Before she could argue further, a sleek black car pulled up, and the driver stepped out to open the door for her. "Thank you for dinner," she said. "Thank you for your insight, Janelle." The way he said her name made it sound different somehow. "I'll see you tomorrow." The next morning, when Janelle arrived at the office, she found a small package on her desk with a note. "These might be useful for your research." Inside was a collection of rare books on traditional Gulf architecture, some in Arabic, with English translations. It was a thoughtful gift, professionally appropriate yet personal. As the days passed, Janelle found herself looking forward to their afternoon meetings. Zaid challenged her ideas, pushed her to think beyond conventional solutions, but always with respect for her expertise. One afternoon, they were reviewing the latest modifications when one of Zaid's associates, Khalid, entered the office without knocking. "Zaid, your mother is here. She's waiting in the main conference room with the Al-Mansouri family." Zaid's expression darkened. "I don't have any meetings scheduled with the Al-Mansouris." "It's about Layla," Khalid said meaningfully. "Your mother thought it was time to continue the discussions." Janelle pretended to focus on her tablet, but she couldn't help noticing how Zaid's posture stiffened. "Tell them I'll be there shortly," he said tersely. After Khalid left, Zaid turned to Janelle. "We'll have to continue this tomorrow." "Of course." She gathered her materials, curious about the tension in the room, but knowing better than to ask. As she was leaving, she heard Khalid in the hallway, speaking in Arabic to another man. She couldn't understand the words, but when they saw her, they switched to English. "Ms. Brooks," Khalid nodded politely. "Productive meeting?" "Yes, very," she replied, noticing the evaluating look in his eyes. "Zaid seems quite invested in your project." Something in his tone made the comment feel loaded with double meaning. "Mr. Al-Rami has high standards for all his projects," she replied neutrally. "Indeed, though I've never seen him spend quite so much time with an outside consultant before, especially a foreign one." The other man chuckled, and Khalid added, "But I'm sure it's just professional interest." Janelle kept her expression pleasant. "Is there something you want to ask me directly, Mr. Khalid?" The directness of her question seemed to surprise him. "Not at all, just making conversation." "Then if you'll excuse me, I have work to finish." That evening, Janelle received a text from Zaid. "My apologies for the interrupted meeting. Family matters. Are you available for breakfast tomorrow to continue our discussion? The cafe across from the office, 7:30. She hesitated before replying, "I'll be there." The cafe was quiet when she arrived the next morning. Zaid was already seated at a corner table, reading something on his tablet. He stood when he saw her, pulling out her chair in a gesture that seemed both formal and personal. "Thank you for coming," he said once they were seated. "Yesterday's interruption was unexpected." "Family business?" she asked, keeping her tone casual. "Family expectations," he corrected. "There's a difference." They ordered coffee and breakfast, and Zaid steered the conversation back to the project. But Janelle sensed there was something he wanted to say beyond architectural details and budget considerations. Finally, as they were finishing, he said, "There's a reception next week. The mayor and several key investors will be there. I'd like you to attend, to present the Palm Heights concept." Is that usual, having the architect present at this stage? No, he admitted. But this isn't a usual project, and you're not a usual architect. There it was, the comment that could be taken two ways, professional recognition or something more personal. What does that mean? She asked directly. Zaid met her gaze. It means you see things differently. You challenge assumptions. That's valuable for this project. And that's the only reason you want me there. For a moment, he seemed caught off guard by her directness. Then he said, "What other reason would there be?" Janelle thought about Khalid's insinuations, about Amira's warnings. "No reason," she replied. "I'll be there." The week leading up to the reception was hectic. Janelle worked with graphic designers to create presentation materials that would impress the investors. Zaid stopped by her workspace less frequently, and when he did, their conversations remained strictly professional. On the night of the reception, Janelle chose her outfit carefully, a modern take on a classic dress, elegant without being showy. When she arrived at the venue, a luxury hotel overlooking the Persian Gulf, she was immediately struck by the opulence of the gathering. Zaid found her within minutes of her arrival. "You look—" He paused, as if searching for the right word. "Professional." "Thank you," she replied, amused by his careful choice of words. "So do you." He guided her through the crowd, introducing her to key figures in Dubai's business and political circles. Most greeted her politely, though she noticed the subtle surprise in their eyes when Zaid presented her as the lead architect. "Ms. Brooks, a pleasure," said one older man, a prominent developer named Hassan. "Zaid must think highly of your work. He's usually quite particular about who designs his projects." "I believe in recognizing talent," Zaid replied smoothly. As they moved away, Janelle whispered, "Particular? Is that what they call it?" "Hassan means I usually work with architects who understand our culture implicitly," Zaid explained. He's surprised I've chosen someone from outside. "And why did you?" she asked, stopping to face him directly. Before he could answer, a striking older woman approached, her elegant abaya and regal bearing marking her as someone important. "Zaid," she said in Arabic, then switched to English. "You haven't introduced me to your colleague." "Mother," Zaid's tone changed subtly. "This is Janelle Brooks, the architect I told you about. Janelle, this is my mother, Samira Al-Rami." Samira's assessment was swift and thorough. "American?" "Yes," Janelle replied. "From Atlanta." "How interesting." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "And how are you finding Dubai, Ms. Brooks?" "It's a fascinating city. The blend of tradition and innovation is inspiring." "Yes, we've managed to embrace the modern world without losing our identity. That's quite important to us." Samira looked pointedly at her son. "Speaking of tradition, the Al-Mansouris are here. Layla looks lovely tonight." "Mother?" Zaid's voice held a warning. "Not now." "There's never a good time with you, is there?" Samira replied, her smile still firmly in place for the benefit of onlookers. "Ms. Brooks, it was a pleasure. I hope your stay in Dubai is productive and brief." After she walked away, Janelle raised an eyebrow. "I take it your mother isn't a fan of foreign architects either." "My mother isn't a fan of anything that disrupts her plans," Zaid said, his jaw tight. "Please excuse her." "Who's Layla?" The question slipped out before Janelle could stop herself. Zaid hesitated. "A family friend. Our parents have certain expectations." "Ah," Janelle nodded, understanding immediately. "An arrangement. It's complicated. It always is." She took a step back. "I should prepare for the presentation." The presentation went well. Janelle spoke confidently about her vision for Palm Heights, emphasizing how it would set a new standard for luxury developments in the region, while honoring local traditions. The investors seemed impressed, and several approached her afterward with questions and compliments. As the evening wound down, Janelle found herself on the hotel's terrace, taking a moment alone to enjoy the view of the city lights, reflecting on the water. She didn't hear Zaid approach until he was beside her. "You did well tonight," he said. "Hassan has already called twice to discuss investment opportunities." "I'm glad." She turned to face him. "Was that all you wanted to tell me?" Zaid was silent for a moment, looking out at the water. No, I wanted to apologize for my mother's behavior. You don't need to apologize for her. In my culture, family reflects on each other. Her actions reflect on me. Janelle shook her head. In any culture, we're responsible for our own words and actions, not anyone else's. He looked at her then, really looked at her, as if seeing something new. You speak as if you're the authority in every room. The words surprised her. Is that a problem? No, he said softly. It's refreshing. He stepped closer. Most people in my world say what they think I want to hear. You never do that. Would you respect me if I did? No. And that's precisely why I find myself... He paused, seeming to choose his next words carefully. Thinking about you, more than I should. The admission hung in the air between them. Janelle knew she should step back, maintain professional boundaries, remind him of the complications. Instead, she found herself saying, Is that why you chose me for this project? Because you found me interesting? I chose you because you're brilliant, he replied without hesitation. I continue to work with you because you're exceptional. The fact that I find myself drawn to you is an unexpected complication. A complication, she repeated. Like Layla. Different, he said, his voice low. Layla is what's expected. You're... He reached out, almost touching her face before stopping himself. What I never knew I wanted. The moment stretched between them, tense with possibility. Then Zaid's phone buzzed, breaking the spell. He checked it, and his expression hardened. I have to go. Family emergency. Of course. Janelle stepped back, creating distance between them. We should keep things professional anyway, Mr. Al-Rami. He looked as if he wanted to say more, but instead nodded. We'll talk tomorrow about the next steps for the project. After he left, Janelle remained on the terrace trying to make sense of what had just happened. This wasn't part of her plan. She had come to Dubai to advance her career, not to get entangled with a client, especially not one from a world so different from her own. Her phone rang. It was Amira. How did it go? Her sister asked. Janelle hesitated. The presentation went well. The investors loved it. That's not what I'm asking about. What's going on with you and Mr. Dubai Millionaire? Nothing, Janelle said too quickly. Nothing is going on. I know that tone. Just be careful, sis. Men like that, they have different rules for different worlds. Don't let yourself be his secret. After hanging up, Janelle made her way back to the hotel lobby. As she waited for her taxi, she noticed a commotion near the entrance. Zaid was there, arguing with an older man who resembled him. His father, she guessed. Beside them stood Samira and a beautiful young woman in an expensive evening gown. Layla, she realized, the family friend with expectations. Zaid looked up and saw her watching. For a moment their eyes locked across the crowded lobby. Then his father said something that pulled his attention away, and the moment was gone. As her taxi pulled away from the hotel, Janelle made a promise to herself. She would finish this project with the same professionalism she brought to everything. She would create something remarkable, and she could not, let herself fall for a man who lived in a world where someone like her would always be a complication. But even as she made that promise, she knew it might already be too late. The morning after the reception, Janelle arrived at her workspace to find a bouquet of white lilies on her desk. The card simply read, Exceptional work last night. Zaid. She stared at the flowers, torn between appreciation for the professional acknowledgement and concern about what else they might mean. Before she could decide, Mariam appeared in the doorway. So it's true, Mariam said, eyeing the flowers. You've made quite an impression on Mr. Al-Rami. The investors were pleased with the presentation, Janelle replied, deliberately misunderstanding. The project is moving forward. That's not what people are talking about. Mariam lowered her voice. Everyone saw how he looked at you last night, and how his mother reacted. Janelle sighed. There's nothing to talk about. We work together. That's all. Janelle, listen to me. I say this as someone who cares about your career. Be careful. Zaid Al-Rami isn't just any client. His family has connections everywhere in this city. I'm a professional, Mariam. I know how to handle myself. It's not about being professional, it's about... Mariam hesitated. Look, I shouldn't say this, but there are rumors about things Zaid once said at a family dinner. About women who aren't... from here. Janelle felt a chill. What kind of things? Before Mariam could answer, Khalid appeared. Ms. Brooks, Mr. Al-Rami requests your presence in the main conference room. The contractors have questions about the foundation plans. Throughout the meeting, Janelle maintained her professional demeanor, but she couldn't stop thinking about what Mariam had started to say. Zaid was polite but distant, nothing like the man who had almost touched her face on the terrace. When the meeting ended, he asked her to stay behind. Once they were alone, his formal facade slipped slightly. About last night, he began. We don't need to discuss it, Janelle interrupted. It was a successful presentation. That's what matters. That's not what I meant. I know. She met his gaze directly. But whatever you meant, whatever you thought might happen between us, it can't. Zaid's expression didn't change, but she saw something shift in his eyes. Because of my family, what you saw at the hotel. Partly, but also because I'm not here for complications. I'm here to build something meaningful, to advance my career, not to become gossip for your social circle. He was quiet for a moment. Is that what you think would happen? Isn't it already happening? She gestured toward the door where Khalid had been. Your colleagues, your mother, they already see me as an intruder. Imagine if they thought there was something personal between us. What others think shouldn't dictate. It's easy to say that when you're at the top, she cut in, when you hold all the power. For me, perception matters. It affects my credibility, my career, everything I've worked for. Zaid studied her, his expression unreadable. You think I don't understand what it means to be judged, to have every action scrutinized? I think you don't understand what it means to be judged and have no power to change the outcome, Janelle replied. Now, if there's nothing else about the project, I should get back to work. For a moment, she thought he might argue. Instead, he nodded. The investors want to see the revised plans by Friday. We'll need to work late this week to meet the deadline. I'll make myself available. As she walked back to her office, Janelle felt both relieved and disappointed. She had done the right thing, the professional thing, so why did it feel like a loss? That evening, as she was leaving the building, she ran into Zaid in the parking garage. He was standing beside a sleek sports car, keys in hand. You're working late, he observed. So are you. An awkward silence fell between them, so different from their usual easy conversation. Do you need a ride? He finally asked. No, I've called a taxi. He nodded, then said, I want to apologize. For what? For putting you in an uncomfortable position. You're right. There are complications I didn't consider. Janelle hadn't expected that. Thank you for understanding. But I want you to know something. He took a step closer. What I said on the terrace wasn't a passing thought or a game. I meant it. Before she could respond, his phone rang. He checked it and frowned. I have to take this. Good night, Janelle. As he answered the call, she heard him switch to Arabic, his tone becoming instantly more formal. She caught the name Layla before he moved away. Back in her apartment, Janelle called Amira, needing her sister's steady perspective. He sent flowers, Amira asked after Janelle explained the day's events. As a professional, thank you, Janelle insisted. Uh-huh. And he just happened to be in the parking garage at the same time as you. It's not like that. He respects the boundaries I set. For now, Amira said skeptically. But men like that aren't used to hearing no. And from what you've told me about his family situation, you're setting yourself up for heartache. There's nothing to set up. We're colleagues, that's all. If you say so. But I know you, sis. You don't call me to talk about men unless they matter to you. After hanging up, Janelle tried to focus on reviewing the project documents, but her mind kept drifting. She couldn't deny the connection she felt with Zaid. something that went beyond professional respect. But she also couldn't ignore the reality of who he was and the world he came from. The next day brought a new complication. As Janelle worked in her office, a beautiful young woman appeared in her doorway. "Ms. Brooks, I'm Layla Al-Mansouri." Janelle recognized her from the hotel. Up close, Layla was even more striking. Perfect features, expensive clothes, the kind of polished beauty that came from privilege and careful cultivation. "How can I help you, Ms. Al-Mansouri?" Layla entered the office, looking around with casual interest. "I wanted to see the project Zaid is so passionate about. He talks about Palm Heights constantly." "It's an important development for the company," Janelle replied neutrally. "For Zaid, it's more than that." Layla picked up one of the design sketches. "He says it's his legacy, his chance to prove himself beyond his father's shadow." She set the sketch down. "He's told you that, hasn't he? Zaid shares his thoughts with you." The implication was clear. "Mr. Al-Rami and I discussed the project extensively. It's my job to understand his vision." Layla smiled, the expression not reaching her eyes. "Of course. Just business." She moved closer to Janelle's desk. "You know, our families have been friends for generations. My father and his father built their first hotels together. It's always been expected that Zaid and I would—" "Ms. Al-Mansouri, I'm not sure why you're telling me this." "Just providing context, Ms. Brooks. Zaid can be impulsive sometimes, rebellious even. But in the end, he understands his responsibilities to his family, to our traditions." She glanced at the flowers on Janelle's desk. "It would be unfortunate if someone misinterpreted his professional courtesy for something more." Janelle kept her expression neutral. "I never mistake courtesy for anything else, Ms. Al-Mansouri. Is there something specific about the project you wanted to discuss?" Layla's smile tightened. "No, I think I've seen everything I need to. It was nice meeting you, Ms. Brooks. I'm sure you'll do wonderful work here, for however long your assignment lasts." After Layla left, Janelle sat quietly, processing the interaction. The visit had been a warning, thinly veiled, but unmistakable. Later that afternoon, when Zaid stopped by to review her progress, Janelle mentioned the visit casually. "I met Layla Al-Mansouri today." Zaid went very still. "She came here? To your office?" "Yes. She said she wanted to see the project you're so passionate about." His jaw tightened. "What else did she say?" "Just that your families have been friends for generations, that there are expectations." "Janelle, whatever she implied—" "She didn't imply anything," Janelle interrupted. "She was very clear. And she's right, isn't she? There are expectations, responsibilities you have to your family, to your traditions." Zaid ran a hand through his hair, a rare gesture of frustration. "It's not that simple." "From where I'm standing, it seems pretty straightforward." Janelle kept her voice steady. "And it confirms what I said yesterday. There can't be anything between us beyond this project. Because of what others expect, because of traditions I didn't choose. Because this is reality, Zaid, not some fairy tale where we can ignore who we are and where we come from." He looked at her for a long moment. "Is that really what you believe? That we're just products of our circumstances, with no power to choose differently?" Before she could answer, his phone buzzed. He checked it and his expression darkened. "My father, I need to take this." He stepped out of the office, leaving Janelle with her thoughts. The rest of the week passed in a blur of work. Zaid and Janelle maintained a strictly professional relationship, focusing on the project deadline. If their colleagues noticed the new distance between them, no one commented on it. By Friday, they had the revised plans ready for the investors. Zaid insisted on reviewing everything one last time, which meant another late night at the office. "I think we've covered everything," Janelle said, stifling a yawn. It was past midnight and they'd been working for hours. "Almost." Zaid pointed to the community center plans. "I'm still not convinced about the placement. It feels disconnected from the residential areas." Janelle sighed. "We've been over this 3 times. The placement allows for better traffic flow and more green space. But at the cost of community integration." He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. "The whole point of Palm Heights is to create a sense of belonging, of connection. Sometimes I wonder if we're even talking about the same project, Janelle said, frustrated. Is this about architecture or something else? Zaid looked at her. What do you mean? I mean, are we really arguing about building placement? Or is this about you avoiding whatever's going on in your personal life? The directness of her question hung in the air between them. For a moment, Janelle thought she'd gone too far. Then Zaid said quietly, My father is pushing for an announcement. About Layla and me, he wants to make it official at the foundation ceremony for Palm Heights. Janelle felt her stomach drop, but kept her expression neutral. I see. Congratulations. I haven't agreed to it. But you haven't refused either. He stood up, moving to the window that overlooked the city. You don't understand what's at stake. This isn't just about me, it's about family alliances, business partnerships that go back generations. You're right. I don't understand, Janelle admitted. Where I come from, marriage is about love, not business. And you think I don't want that? He turned to face her. You think I don't want to choose my own path? I think you already have a path. It's just not one you're willing to leave. Zaid's phone rang again. He glanced at it and silenced the call. That's the third time my mother has called tonight. You should answer. It might be important. It's about the announcement. The family dinner tomorrow where they expect me to formally ask for Layla's hand. He moved closer to Janelle. Come with me. What? To dinner, tomorrow night, at my family's home. Janelle stared at him. Have you lost your mind? You want me to attend the dinner where you're supposed to get engaged to someone else. I want them to meet you, to see who you really are, not just what they imagine. And what would that accomplish exactly, other than humiliating Layla and angering your family? Zaid took her hand, a gesture so unexpected that Janelle didn't pull away. It would show them that I'm serious about making my own choices, that Palm Heights isn't the only legacy I'm building. The intensity in his eyes made her heart race. Zaid, this is crazy. You can't just... Can't what? Feel this way about you? Because I've tried not to, Janelle. I've told myself all the reasons it can't work, all the complications and consequences. But every time I'm with you, none of that matters. It has to matter, she insisted, pulling her hand away. We live in the real world, not some romance novel. The real world is what we make it. He moved closer, until she could feel the warmth of him. I've spent my entire life doing what was expected, building what others wanted, living how others thought I should. Palm Heights was supposed to be my one act of independence. And then I met you, and suddenly I realized how much more was possible. His words resonated somewhere deep inside her, touching on dreams she'd barely acknowledged to herself. Zaid, The office door opened abruptly and Khalid walked in. He stopped short at the sight of them standing so close together. Zaid, I've been looking for you. Your mother called me when you didn't answer. His gaze moved between them, taking in the situation. She's worried about you. Zaid stepped back, his expression cooling. Tell her I'll call her back. Khalid didn't move. She wants to confirm the arrangements for tomorrow. The Al-Mansouris are expecting... I know what they're expecting. Zaid cut him off. And I'll handle it myself. After an uncomfortable moment, Khalid nodded and left, but not before giving Janelle a look that made it clear he blamed her for the situation. Once he was gone, Janelle gathered her things. I should go. Janelle, please, think about what I said. There's nothing to think about. You have obligations, a life that was planned long before I arrived. I won't be the reason you throw that away. What if I want to throw it away? What if none of it matters compared to how I feel about you? She stopped at the door, looking back at him. If that's true, then you need to make that decision for yourself. Not for me, not because of me, but because it's what you truly want for your life. She left him standing there, her heart pounding and her mind racing. Outside, the night air was cool against her skin, a sharp contrast to the heat she'd felt in Zaid's presence. Her phone buzzed with a text from Amira. Checking in. How's the project going? Janelle stared at the screen, unsure how to respond. How could she explain what was happening when she barely understood it herself? She finally typed, complicated, very complicated. Amira's response was immediate. Do you need me to come there? The offer touched Janelle deeply. Her sister would drop everything if she asked. No, I'm okay, just figuring things out. Remember what Dad always said, Amira texted back. Don't be so hungry for a seat at the table that you forget what they are serving. The familiar saying made Janelle smile, but it also forced her to confront the reality of her situation. What was she really being offered here? A secret affair? A temporary rebellion? Or something genuine that could withstand the pressures of family and tradition? The next morning, Janelle woke to another text, this one from Zaid. I need to see you. Not about work. Please. She hesitated, then replied, When and where? The Botanical Garden. 1 hour. I'll send a car. The Dubai Miracle Garden was a riot of color and scent, an oasis in the desert that showcased what was possible with vision and determination. Janelle walked among the flower displays, marveling at how something so lush could thrive in such an arid environment. She found Zaid waiting on a bench beneath an arch of roses, looking more casual than she'd ever seen him in jeans and a simple shirt. When he saw her, he stood, and the smile that lit his face made her heart skip. You came, he said, as if he'd been unsure. I said I would. She sat beside him, keeping a proper distance. Why here? It's one of the few places in Dubai where I feel at peace. A miracle in the desert. Something that shouldn't exist, but does, through sheer determination and vision. He looked at her meaningfully. Like what I feel for you, Janelle sighed. Zaid, please let me finish. I've been thinking about what you said last night, about making decisions for myself, not because of you. He turned to face her fully. Last night, after you left, I called my father. I told him I won't be making any announcement about Layla and me, that I'm not ready for that step. How did he take it? About as well as you'd expect. There was shouting, threats about my position in the company, warnings about family honor. His mouth quirked in a half-smile. The usual. Zaid, I never wanted to cause problems between you and your family. You didn't cause anything. You just helped me see what was already there, a life I was accepting without question, choices I was making to please others instead of myself. He reached for her hand. I'm not saying I have all the answers. I don't know exactly what happens next. But I know I want to find out who I am outside of what everyone expects from me. And I know I want to explore whatever this is between us. Janelle looked down at their joined hands, dark against light. It won't be easy. Your mother already dislikes me. Layla made it clear she sees me as a threat. And your colleagues. Since when do you care what others think? You, who walks into rooms that weren't built for you and owns them anyway. She smiled despite herself. That's different, that's work. And this isn't? Building something meaningful together, creating a new reality, that's not work. Before she could answer, a group of tourists walked by, several of them recognizing Zaid and pointing. He noticed and sighed. The problem with being a miracle in the desert is that everyone's always watching, he said. Let's go somewhere more private to talk. He led her to a secluded corner of the garden, where a small pavilion offered shade and privacy. Once they were seated, he took both her hands in his. I'm not asking for promises, Janelle. I'm just asking for a chance to see if what I feel, what I think we both feel, is strong enough to overcome the obstacles. Janelle thought about Amira's warnings, about Layla's visit, about the dinner happening tonight where Zaid's family expected him to make an announcement he'd now refused to make. She thought about how complicated this could get, how many people might be hurt or angered, but then she looked at Zaid, really looked at him, and saw not the powerful businessman or the heir to a dynasty, but a man trying to find his own path. A man who saw her, really saw her, in a way no one else in Dubai had. Okay, she said finally. A chance, but we take it slow, and we keep it private for now. I won't be your secret, but I also won't be the public reason for a family rift. Relief and joy spread across his face. Agreed on one condition. What's that? Have dinner with me tonight. Just the two of us. Away from work, away from family expectations. Just Zaid and Janelle getting to know each other properly. She smiled. I'd like that. As they walked back through the garden, Zaid kept a respectful distance, but Janelle could feel the energy between them, like an invisible thread connecting them despite the space. "There's something else you should know," he said as they neared the exit. "Something I said once, at a family dinner." Janelle tensed, remembering Mariam's unfinished warning. "What was it?" Zaid looked uncomfortable. "It was about 2 years ago. My uncle was talking about his company expanding into Africa, and he made some comments about the people there. Comments I didn't challenge because I was trying to secure his investment in one of my projects." "And?" Janelle prompted, sensing there was more. "And then he asked me directly if I could ever see myself with a black woman, in front of my parents, my cousins, everyone." Zaid's jaw tightened at the memory. "I said no. I said a black woman could never stand beside me, that it wouldn't be accepted and I would never allow it." The words hit Janelle like a physical blow. Though she'd suspected something like this from Mariam's warning, hearing it confirmed was different. "I see," she said, her voice cool. "And now?" "Now I realize it was one of the most shameful moments of my life, not just because of what I said, but because I knew even then it wasn't true. It was what they wanted to hear, what kept the peace, what protected my business interests." He stopped walking, turning to face her. "I've regretted those words every day since, and meeting you, it's like the universe decided to teach me a lesson about the cost of saying things you don't believe just to please others." Janelle studied his face, looking for any sign of insincerity. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I want whatever happens between us to be based on truth, complete truth, even the ugly parts." He took a deep breath. "And because I want you to know that I'm not just exploring this to rebel against my family or to prove something. I'm here because meeting you made me question everything I thought I knew about what I want in my life." The honesty in his eyes was unmistakable. Janelle felt something shift inside her, a wall beginning to crumble. "Thank you for telling me," she said softly. "It couldn't have been easy." "Nothing worth having ever is." He smiled, the expression transforming his face. "So, dinner tonight? I know a place where we can talk without being interrupted or photographed." "Yes," Janelle agreed, returning his smile. "Dinner tonight." As his driver took her back to her apartment, Janelle tried to process everything that had happened. She knew there were still obstacles ahead: Zaid's family, cultural differences, her own career ambitions. But for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine the possibility that what was growing between them might be worth the struggle. Her phone buzzed with another text from Amira. "Still complicated?" Janelle smiled as she typed her reply. "More than ever. But maybe that's not such a bad thing." The restaurant Zaid chose for their first real date was tucked away in a quiet corner of the city, far from the glittering towers and tourist attractions. It was small and elegant, with traditional decor and private dining rooms that ensured discretion. When Janelle arrived, dressed in a simple but elegant blue dress, she found Zaid already waiting. He stood as she approached, his eyes taking her in with undisguised appreciation. "You look beautiful," he said. "Thank you." She smiled, suddenly feeling nervous in a way she never did during their work meetings. "This place is lovely. I wouldn't have found it on my own." "That's the idea. It's one of the few places in Dubai where I can just be myself. The owner was my grandfather's friend. He doesn't care about my family name or business connections." As they settled into their private dining room, Janelle noticed how different Zaid seemed outside the office, more relaxed, less guarded. When he smiled, it reached his eyes in a way she rarely saw during business hours. "So," she said after they ordered, "no announcement at the family dinner tonight?" "No announcement," he confirmed, "though I'm sure my absence is making quite a statement on its own." "How bad will it be? With your family, I mean." Zaid considered the question. "My father will be angry. He sees the Al-Mansouri connection as crucial for our next development project. My mother will be disappointed. She's been planning this match since Layla and I were children, but they'll survive." "And Layla? How will she feel?" His expression grew more serious. "Honestly, relieved, I think. Layla has her own life, her own interests. This arrangement was never her idea either. That's not the impression she gave when she visited my office." Layla is protective of her family's position, and she's been taught, as I was, that personal desires are secondary to family obligations. He reached across the table to take her hand. But enough about them. Tonight is about us. Tell me something I don't know about Janelle Brooks. Over dinner, they talked about everything except work. Janelle told him about growing up in Atlanta with Amira, about her father who had taught her to stand her ground, and her mother who had shown her how to do it with grace. Zaid shared stories of his childhood, the weight of expectations he'd felt even as a boy, and the brief years he'd spent studying in London, the only time in his life when he'd felt truly free. "That's why Palm Heights matters so much to me," he explained. "It's my chance to create something that's entirely mine, not just an extension of my father's vision." "It doesn't have to be your only chance," Janelle said. "You're still young. There's time to build many legacies." "Is that what you're doing in Dubai? Building your legacy?" She smiled. "I'm building my career. The legacy part comes later." "And where do you see that legacy taking shape? Back in Atlanta?" The question carried weight they both recognized. Janelle's time in Dubai was temporary, just a 6-month residency. Any future they might imagine would have to confront that reality. "I don't know," she admitted. "I love Atlanta, but I'm open to opportunities anywhere. The right project, the right team." She met his eyes. "The right reasons to stay." The moment hung between them, full of possibility. After dinner, they walked along a quiet stretch of beach, their shoes in their hands and the warm sand between their toes. The moon reflected on the water, and the distant city lights sparkled like earthbound stars. "I never do this," Zaid said, looking out at the water. "Walk on the beach. Take time to just be, to enjoy a moment without thinking about the next meeting, the next deal, the next family obligation." He turned to her. "You make me want more of these moments, Janelle." She looked up at him, at the intensity in his eyes, and felt her resolve weakening. "Zaid, we should take this slow, remember?" "I remember." He stepped closer. "But I've been wanting to do this since the first day you challenged me in that meeting." His hand came up to cup her face, and then he was kissing her, gently at first, then with a passion that made her forget all the reasons why this was complicated. She found herself responding, her arms sliding around his neck as she pressed closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Janelle whispered, "So much for taking it slow." Zaid laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "We can still take everything else slow, but I've waited too long for that kiss to delay it any further." The drive back to her apartment was filled with a new awareness, a tension that was both exciting and frightening. At her door, Zaid kissed her again, but stepped back when she invited him in. "Not tonight," he said. "When I stay with you for the first time, I don't want it to be rushed or hidden. I want a whole night to learn you, to be with you without watching the clock." His words sent a shiver through her. "That sounds dangerously like planning a future." "Maybe I am." He touched her face gently. "Is that so frightening?" "Terrifying," she admitted, "but also tempting." After he left, Janelle leaned against her closed door, touching her lips where she could still feel his kiss. This was happening so fast, sweeping her up in feelings she hadn't expected and couldn't control. Part of her wanted to pull back, to protect herself from the inevitable complications, but another part, a stronger part, wanted to see where this could go. The next morning, a bouquet of exotic flowers arrived at her apartment with a note. "To new beginnings. Dinner again tonight? Zed." Janelle smiled as she texted back her acceptance. For the next 2 weeks, they fell into a pattern. During the day, they maintained a professional relationship at the office, careful not to arouse suspicion. At night, they explored the city together, finding hidden restaurants, quiet beaches, and private corners where they could be themselves without the weight of others' expectations. As the Palm Heights project progressed, they found themselves working even more closely together. The foundation ceremony was approaching, and there were 1,000 details to finalize. "The investors love the latest revisions," Zaid told her one afternoon as they reviewed the plans in his office. "Especially the community center design. It's exactly what I had envisioned, but couldn't articulate. That's my job, Janelle replied with a smile. To see what you want, even when you can't find the words for it. Is that just professionally or personally too? He asked, his voice dropping as he moved closer to her chair. Mr. Al-Rami, are you flirting with me during business hours? She kept her tone light, but glanced nervously at the door. Absolutely. He leaned down to whisper in her ear. And I'm thinking about all the things I want to do once business hours are over. Heat flooded her cheeks. Zaid, someone could walk in. Let them. But he straightened up anyway, maintaining a professional distance. Actually, there's something I've been wanting to discuss with you about us. The serious note in his voice made her pause. What is it? The foundation ceremony is in 2 weeks. It's going to be a major event. Press, local officials, investors. My family will all be there. He took her hand. I want you by my side, not just as the architect, but as my partner. Janelle pulled her hand away. Zaid, we've talked about this. We agreed to keep things private while we figure out what this is. It's been 2 weeks, Janelle. I know what this is for me. His eyes held hers. Don't you? She couldn't deny the depth of her feelings, but she also couldn't ignore the realities they faced. It's not that simple. Your family still doesn't know about us, neither does mine except for Amira. Going public at such a high-profile event is exactly the right time, he insisted, making it clear to everyone that this isn't a passing phase or a secret affair, but something real that I'm committed to. Before she could respond, there was a knock at the door, and Khalid entered without waiting for an answer. He stopped short when he saw them standing so close together. Sorry to interrupt, he said, his tone making it clear he wasn't sorry at all. Zaid, your mother is here. She's waiting in the main lobby. Zaid frowned. My mother. She never comes to the office. She said it's urgent. Something about the foundation ceremony arrangements. After Khalid left, Zaid turned back to Janelle. We'll finish this conversation later. Think about what I said? I will, she promised. But Zaid, please don't say anything to your mother yet. Not until we've decided together how to handle this. He nodded reluctantly. I won't. But soon, Janelle. I'm tired of hiding how I feel about you. After he left, Janelle tried to focus on work, but her mind kept returning to Zaid's words. Going public would change everything. It would make their relationship real in a way that they're private. Dinners and stolen kisses hadn't yet. It would also expose them to scrutiny and judgment from all sides. About an hour later, her office door opened again. This time it was Samira Al-Rami who stood there, elegant and imposing in a designer abaya, her expression cold as she surveyed Janelle. Ms. Brooks, she said, her accent more pronounced than Zaid's. I think it's time we had a conversation. Janelle stood, trying to hide her surprise and unease. Mrs. Al-Rami, please, come in. Samira entered but didn't sit, making it clear this wouldn't be a long or friendly chat. I'll be direct. Whatever is happening between you and my son needs to end, now. Janelle kept her expression neutral. I'm not sure what you mean. Please don't insult my intelligence. Samira's eyes flashed. You think I don't know when my son is infatuated, when he suddenly cancels family dinners, refuses to discuss the Al-Mansouri arrangement, and spends every evening working late at the office. She made a dismissive gesture. Zaid has always been passionate, prone to distractions, but this ends now before it damages his reputation and the family's standing. Janelle felt her professional mask slipping. With all due respect, Mrs. Al-Rami, I don't think your son would appreciate you interfering in his personal life this way. Personal life? Samira laughed without humor. You are a temporary employee, Ms. Brooks, a foreign consultant who will return to America when this project is complete. You are not part of my son's personal life. You are a distraction, nothing more. The words stung more than Janelle wanted to admit. I think that's for your son to decide. Is it? Samira moved closer, her voice dropping. Do you really understand what you're doing? Zaid isn't just any man. He carries the legacy of generations. His choices affect hundreds of employees, countless business partnerships, our family's place in this country's future. She studied Janelle with cold assessment. What can you offer that compares to that responsibility? A few months of excitement before you return to your life in America. Before Janelle could respond, Samira continued, "You seem intelligent, ambitious. I respect that, so let me make you an offer that speaks to that ambition." She opened her designer handbag and removed a folded document. "This is a recommendation letter, signed by me personally, to 3 of the most prestigious architectural firms in New York, London, and Paris. Along with it comes my personal commitment to fund a scholarship program for young female architects from underprivileged backgrounds in your name." She placed the document on Janelle's desk. "All you need to do is complete the Palm Heights project professionally, end whatever personal entanglement you have with my son, and return to America when your contract ends. No drama, no public embarrassment for anyone." Janelle stared at the paper, then back at Samira. "You're trying to buy me off. I'm offering you an opportunity to do genuine good while avoiding a situation that can only end badly for everyone involved." Samira's expression softened slightly. "My son thinks he's in love with you. Perhaps he even believes it himself right now. But I know Zaid. I know the weight of duty he carries. Eventually, he will remember who he is and what is expected of him. When that happens, you will be the one left behind, your reputation tarnished, your career complicated by scandal." The worst part was that Samira's words echoed Janelle's own doubts, the questions she asked herself late at night after Zaid had kissed her goodbye. Was this real? Could it last? Or was she setting herself up for heartbreak? "I'll leave you to consider my offer," Samira said, moving toward the door. "But don't take too long. The foundation ceremony is approaching, and I would hate for an unfortunate scene to overshadow my son's professional achievement." After Samira left, Janelle sat heavily in her chair, staring at the letter on her desk. The recommendation alone could advance her career by years. The scholarship program could help dozens of young women like her. All she had to do was walk away from Zaid, from whatever future they might build together. She was still sitting there when her phone buzzed with a text from Zaid. "Sorry about the interruption. Dinner tonight? I have something special planned." Janelle stared at the message, torn between her feelings for him and the harsh reality Samira had laid out. Finally, she texted back, "Can't tonight. Deadline for the landscaping plans." "Tomorrow?" It was the first time she'd turned down one of his invitations, and she felt a pang of guilt at the small deception. But she needed time to think, to decide what she truly wanted and what she was willing to risk for it. That evening, as she sat alone in her apartment, her phone rang. It was Amira. "Hey sis," Janelle answered, relieved to hear a friendly voice. "Don't hey sis me," Amira replied. "You've been avoiding my calls for 2 weeks. What's going on with you and Mr. Dubai?" Janelle sighed. "It's complicated, Amira. It's always complicated with men like that. Spill it." So Janelle told her everything. The private dinners, the growing closeness, Zaid's desire to go public, and finally, Samira's visit and offer. "That witch tried to buy you off." Amira's outrage was clear even across the ocean. "Please tell me you tore up that letter in her face." "I didn't," Janelle admitted. "I'm still thinking about it." "What is there to think about? The woman insulted you, treated you like you could be bought, and basically said you're not good enough for her precious son." "But what if she's right, Amira? What if this is just temporary? Zaid and I come from completely different worlds. His family, his culture, his responsibilities. It's all so far removed from my life." "So what? Dad didn't come from Mom's world either. But they made it work because they loved each other." Amira's voice softened. "The question isn't whether you're from the same world, sis. It's whether you want to build a new world together." The words hit Janelle hard. "I don't know. I think I might be falling in love with him, but it's happening so fast. And there's so much at stake. My career, his family relationships, the project we're both passionate about. Janelle, listen to me. You've always played it safe, always had a plan, always known your next step. Maybe that's why this scares you so much, because for once, you can't see the whole staircase, you can only see the next step. And what if that step leads to a fall? Then you pick yourself up and keep climbing, Amira said firmly. But at least you'll know you had the courage to try. After hanging up, Janelle walked to her balcony, looking out at the Dubai skyline. The city was a testament to vision and ambition, to building something extraordinary in the most challenging environment. Wasn't that what love required too? The courage to build something new, even when the conditions seemed impossible? Her phone buzzed with another text from Zaid. Miss you tonight. Tomorrow 8 p.m. I won't take no for an answer this time. She smiled despite herself, typing back, 8 p.m. it is. The next day at work, Janelle focused on the landscaping plans, deliberately avoiding Zaid's office. She needed clear headspace before their dinner, time to decide what she would say about his mother's visit and his desire to go public with their relationship. Around noon, Mariam appeared at her door. There's someone here to see you. Says she's your sister. Janelle looked up in shock. My sister? Amira is here. Before Mariam could answer, Amira appeared behind her, beaming. Surprise! Janelle rushed to embrace her. What are you doing here? When did you? I got on a plane right after we talked last night, Amira explained, hugging her tightly. You sounded like you needed backup, so here I am. I flew all the way from Atlanta just because I sounded upset. Girl, please, I've been looking for an excuse to visit Dubai anyway. You're just a bonus. Amira grinned, then turned to Mariam. Thanks for showing me in. I'm Amira, the smarter, prettier Brooks sister. Mariam smiled. Nice to meet you. I'll leave you two to catch up. Once they were alone, Amira looked around the office, impressed. Fancy digs. So this is where the magic happens. The architectural magic, yes, Janelle clarified. Amira, I can't believe you're here. It's so good to see you, but I'm in the middle of work. And you're hiding from your handsome millionaire because his mama scared you. Amira sat down, making herself comfortable. Well, I'm here now, and I'm not letting you run away from something that could be amazing just because you're scared. I'm not scared, I'm being realistic. You're overthinking, as usual. Amira leaned forward. So when do I get to meet him? This man who's got my level-headed sister all twisted up. Before Janelle could answer, there was a knock at the open door. They both turned to see Zaid standing there, his expression curious as he took in the visitor. Sorry to interrupt, he said. I was hoping to discuss the landscaping plans, but I can come back later. Janelle felt suddenly flustered. No, it's fine. Zaid, this is my sister Amira. She just arrived from Atlanta. Amira, this is Zaid al-Rami. Amira stood, extending her hand with a warm smile. So you're the famous Zaid. I've heard a lot about you. Zaid shook her hand, his eyes moving between the sisters with interest. All good things, I hope. Mostly, Amira replied with a teasing glance at Janelle, though my sister can be pretty tough to impress. I'm well aware, Zaid said, his smile warming as he looked at Janelle. It's one of the things I admire most about her. The simple statement, delivered with such genuine feeling, made Janelle's heart flutter. Amira caught the look between them and grinned. Well, I should let you two discuss your landscaping plans, she said, emphasizing the words in a way that made it clear she didn't believe that was what Zaid had really come to talk about. Janelle, I'll meet you back at your apartment later. We have a lot to catch up on. After Amira left, Zaid closed the office door. Your sister seems wonderful. She flew all this way just to visit you. Something like that, Janelle replied, not quite meeting his eyes. Zaid moved closer, his expression growing serious. What's wrong? You've been avoiding me all day, and you cancelled dinner last night. I had work to finish. Janelle, look at me. He waited until she did. What happened? Did I push too hard about going public? Because if you're not ready, your mother came to see me yesterday, she interrupted. After you left. His expression darkened. What? Why didn't you tell me? I needed time to think about what she said. Janelle hesitated, then decided on complete honesty. She offered me recommendations to top firms and funding for a scholarship program in my name if I'd end things with you and leave Dubai when my contract is up. Zaid's face went from shock to anger. She had no right to interfere, to try to buy you off like that. He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. I'm sorry, Janelle. I'll talk to her, make it clear that she can't. That's not all she said, Janelle continued quietly. She said I'm just a distraction for you. That eventually you'll remember your responsibilities, your duty to your family, and I'll be left behind. Zaid's expression softened. He took her hands in his. And you believed her? I don't know what to believe, Zaid. This has all happened so fast. 2 weeks ago, we were just colleagues. Now you're talking about going public, about a future together. What if your mother is right? What if this is just a phase, a rebellion against the life that's been planned for you? Is that what you think this is? His voice was low, intense. A phase? A rebellion? I don't know, she admitted. But I do know that your world is very different from mine. Your family, your position here, the expectations you've lived with your entire life, that doesn't just disappear because you feel something for me. Zaid was quiet for a moment, considering her words. Then he said, Come with me, there's something I want to show you. Now? I have work to finish and Amira is waiting. Please. It won't take long and I think it might help answer some of your questions. Curious despite her reservations, Janelle agreed. They took the elevator to the parking garage, where Zaid's driver was waiting with his car. As they drove through the city, Zaid was quiet, his expression thoughtful. Finally, they pulled up in front of a construction site. It wasn't the Palm Heights location. This was in a different part of the city, an area Janelle hadn't visited before. What is this place? She asked as they got out of the car. My other project, Zaid replied, leading her toward the site entrance. The one my family doesn't know about. Inside the construction fence, Janelle saw the beginnings of what looked like a community center. Workers moved about, setting foundations and raising steel beams. I started this 6 months ago, Zaid explained as they walked through the site. It's a training center for young people from lower-income neighborhoods, a place where they can learn skills, get certifications, find pathways to careers they might not otherwise consider. Janelle looked around, impressed. This is wonderful, Zaid, but why keep it secret from your family? Because my father would see it as a distraction from our core business, a waste of resources on people who aren't our target demographic, as he would say. Zaid's expression hardened briefly. And because I wanted something that was entirely mine. Not the Al-Rami group's, not my family's legacy, just mine. He turned to face her directly. I brought you here because I want you to understand something. I've been quietly building my own life, my own values, apart from my family's expectations for years. Meeting you didn't start that process, it accelerated it. Made me realize I couldn't keep living in two worlds forever. Janelle felt her doubts beginning to fade as she looked into his eyes, saw the sincerity there. My mother is wrong about you being a distraction, he continued. You're a revelation, Janelle. You showed me it's possible to live authentically, to stand in your truth without apology. That's not something I'll just forget or move past. He took her hands in his. I'm not asking you to believe in forever right now. I'm just asking you to believe in today, in us, in what we could build together, if we're brave enough to try. Looking at him standing there with the literal framework of his secret dream rising around them, Janelle felt something settle in her heart. This wasn't just words or temporary passion. This was a man trying to build a better world, just as she was. Okay, she said softly. I believe in today. In us. And I'm willing to see where it leads. The smile that lit his face made her heart skip. He pulled her close, kissing her right there in the middle of the construction site, not caring who might see. When they broke apart, both breathless, he said, Have dinner with me and your sister tonight. I want to get to know the woman who flew halfway around the world to protect you. Janelle laughed. Be careful what you wish for. Amira doesn't hold back her opinions. Good. Neither do you. It must run in the family. He kissed her again, quickly. And after dinner I want to talk about the foundation ceremony, about us standing together, not hiding anymore. The thought still made her nervous, but the fear was fading, replaced by something that felt a lot like hope. One step at a time, she said. Dinner with Amira first. If you can survive that, we'll talk about going public. As they drove back to the office, Janelle felt lighter than she had in days. She didn't have all the answers yet, The path ahead was still uncertain, still filled with potential obstacles. But for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine that they might actually find a way forward together. What she didn't know was that across the city, Samira Al-Rami was meeting with someone who had very different plans for her son's future, someone who wasn't about to let an American architect with no connections or family name steal what she considered rightfully hers. Layla Al-Mansouri listened to Samira's concerns with a sympathetic expression, but her eyes were cold and calculating. "Don't worry," she assured the older woman. "I'll take care of everything before the foundation ceremony. By the time we break ground on Palm Heights, Janelle Brooks will be nothing but a fading memory." Dinner with Amira went better than Janelle could have hoped. Her sister and Zaid connected immediately, sharing a similar sense of humor and a mutual protective instinct toward Janelle that was both touching and slightly annoying. "So," Amira said as they finished their meal at a private restaurant overlooking the water, "when were you planning to tell my sister about your family's reaction to your friendship?" Zaid set down his glass, giving Amira a measured look. "I assume Janelle has already told you about my mother's visit." "She has, and about the generous offer to buy her off." Amira's tone made it clear what she thought of that. "What I want to know is what you plan to do about it." "Amira," Janelle warned, "this isn't an interrogation." "It's all right," Zaid said, reaching for Janelle's hand. "Your sister is right to ask." He turned to Amira. "I plan to make it clear to my family that my relationship with Janelle isn't negotiable. That includes at the foundation ceremony next week, where we'll appear together publicly for the first time." Amira raised an eyebrow. "Bold move. And if they don't accept it? Then they'll have to learn to live with disappointment." His tone was light, but his eyes were serious. "My family's approval is important to me, but not at the cost of my own happiness." "And what about Janelle's happiness, her career? Have you thought about how this could affect her professionally?" "I have." Zaid's grip on Janelle's hand tightened slightly. "That's why I've made arrangements to ensure that, whatever happens with my family, Janelle's work on Palm Heights will be recognized and celebrated. Her name will be prominently featured in all materials about the project, and I've already spoken to several international publications about featuring her designs." Janelle looked at him in surprise. "You didn't tell me that." "I was waiting for the right moment," he admitted. "I wanted to make sure you knew that I'm not just thinking about us, but about your career too." Amira watched their exchange with a thoughtful expression. "Okay. I'm starting to see why my level-headed sister is so twisted up about you." She leaned forward. "One more question, Mr. Al-Rami. What happens after the foundation ceremony, after Palm Heights is complete and Janelle's contract ends? Have you thought that far ahead?" Zaid met her gaze steadily. "I have. But that's a conversation I need to have with Janelle first when the time is right." After dinner, as they walked Amira back to Janelle's apartment where she was staying, Amira pulled her sister aside. "He's impressive, I'll give you that. And he clearly adores you." "But," Janelle prompted, knowing her sister too well. "But loving someone isn't always enough, sis. There are real obstacles here, cultural differences, family expectations, your career back home." Amira squeezed her arm. "I just don't want to see you hurt." "I know. But some things are worth the risk." Janelle looked over at Zaid, who was giving them space to talk. "He is." Later, after Amira had gone inside, Janelle and Zaid stood in the quiet street outside her building. "Your sister is remarkable," he said. "Just like you. She's protective, always has been. As she should be." He took both her hands in his. "Janelle, there's something I want to ask you, something I've been thinking about since before your sister arrived." The seriousness in his tone made her heart beat faster. "What is it?" "After the foundation ceremony, after we go public with our relationship, I want you to consider staying in Dubai. Not just for the duration of your contract, but permanently." Janelle stared at him. "Zaid, my life is in Atlanta. My career, my family. I know it's a lot to ask, but I've been thinking about possibilities, about how your career could flourish here, not just with my company, but with connections I could help you build throughout the region." His eyes were intense, hopeful. "And as for family, we could visit Atlanta often. Your sister could visit us. We could build a life together that includes both our worlds. The enormity of what he was suggesting washed over her. Are you talking about... I'm talking about a future, Janelle. Our future. He pulled her closer. I'm not formally asking yet. It's too soon, I know that. But I want you to know that's where my heart is heading. Toward a life with you, whether that's in Dubai or Atlanta or anywhere else in the world. Tears pricked at her eyes. Zaid, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything now. Just think about it. He kissed her softly. We have time. But time was exactly what they didn't have, though neither of them knew it yet. The next morning, Janelle arrived at work to find an urgent message from the project's structural engineer. There were concerns about the foundation plans for Palm Heights, issues that needed to be addressed immediately. She spent the day in meetings, barely seeing Zaid, who was tied up with investors. By evening, the problems had been resolved, but Janelle was exhausted. She texted Zaid to cancel their dinner plans, promising to make it up to him the next day. Back at her apartment, she found Amira cooking dinner. You look beat, her sister observed. Rough day? Just long. Last-minute engineering issues with the project. Janelle collapsed onto the couch. But we fixed it. The foundation ceremony can proceed as scheduled. Speaking of foundations, Amira said, stirring something that smelled delicious. Have you thought about what Zaid asked you last night? About staying in Dubai? Janelle sighed. I've been too busy putting out fires to think about it. But yes, it's been in the back of my mind all day. And? And I don't know, Amira. A month ago, the idea of staying in Dubai would have seemed crazy. Now, she trailed off, trying to sort through her feelings. Now I can almost see it. A life here with him. But, Amira prompted, but what if it doesn't work out? What if his family never accepts me? What if I give up everything in Atlanta, only to discover that we can't overcome the differences between us? Amira sat beside her sister. Those are all valid questions. But let me ask you something else. What if it does work out? What if you pass up the chance at something amazing because you're afraid of what might go wrong? Before Janelle could answer, her phone rang. It was Mariam, sounding distressed. Janelle, I'm sorry to call so late, but there's something you need to know. Her voice was low, as if she were afraid of being overheard. I was just in a meeting with the PR team for the foundation ceremony, and Layla Al-Mansouri was there. Layla? What was she doing there? She said she was representing the Al-Mansouri family interests as major investors. But after the meeting, I overheard her talking to someone on the phone. She was saying something about making sure you were put in your place at the ceremony. Janelle frowned. What does that mean? I don't know exactly, but it sounded like she's planning something to embarrass you publicly. I thought you should know. After hanging up, Janelle explained the situation to Amira. That witch, Amira said, indignant. She's probably working with Zaid's mother. Probably, Janelle agreed. But what could they be planning? Whatever it is, we need to be ready. Amira's eyes gleamed with determination. No one messes with a Brooks sister and gets away with it. The next day, Janelle tried to focus on work, but her mind kept returning to Mariam's warning. What could Layla and Samira be planning? And should she tell Zaid about it? Or would that just create more tension before the ceremony? She was still debating this when Khalid appeared at her office door. Miss Brooks, there's been a change to the foundation ceremony program. Mr. Al-Rami Sr. would like to review it with you. Janelle looked up in surprise. Mr. Al-Rami Sr., Zaid's father. Yes, he's waiting in the main conference room. Feeling a sense of foreboding, Janelle followed Khalid to the conference room. Ibrahim Al-Rami was a more imposing version of his son, taller, broader, with silver at his temples and a commanding presence that filled the room. He stood as she entered, his expression unreadable. Ms. Brooks, he said, his accent thicker than Zaid's. Please, sit down. Janelle took a seat across from him, maintaining eye contact. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Mr. Al-Rami. Your son speaks highly of your business acumen. My son speaks highly of many things lately, Ibrahim replied, his tone neutral, including your work on Palm Heights. I'm glad to hear that. The project has been a wonderful opportunity. Ibrahim studied her for a moment. Let me be direct, Ms. Brooks. I understand that you and my son have developed a personal relationship. Janelle kept her expression calm, though her heart was racing. Mr. Al-Rami, with all due respect, my personal life is my own business. Not when it involves the heir to the Al-Rami group, his voice hardened slightly. Not when it threatens alliances that have been years in the making. If you're referring to the Al-Mansouri family, perhaps that's a discussion you should have with your son. Ibrahim leaned forward. I've had many discussions with Zaid. He is stubborn, idealistic. He believes he can simply follow his heart without consequences. He slid a folder across the table. These are the consequences, Ms. Brooks. Inside the folder were photos, Janelle and Zaid at restaurants, walking on the beach, embracing outside her apartment building. Along with the photos was a draft of what appeared to be a tabloid article, headlined, Al-Rami Heir's Secret Affair with Foreign Employee. Where did you get these? Janelle asked, her voice steady despite her shock. That's not important. What matters is that they haven't been published yet. Ibrahim's expression was hard. The foundation ceremony is in 3 days. It will be attended by government officials, royal family members, international press. Do you understand what a scandal like this would mean? Not just for my family, but for you? Janelle looked at the photos again, feeling sick. Someone had been following them, invading their privacy, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. What do you want from me? She asked, already knowing the answer. I want you to complete your work on Palm Heights professionally. Attend the ceremony as the project architect, nothing more. And then return to America when your contract ends. Ibrahim's voice softened slightly. You seem like an intelligent woman, Ms. Brooks. Surely you understand that this infatuation between you and my son cannot lead anywhere meaningful. Janelle stood up, gathering the photos and placing them back in the folder. I understand perfectly, Mr. Al-Rami. Thank you for your directness. She left the conference room with her head high, but inside she was trembling. This wasn't just Samira's disapproval or Layla's jealousy. This was a coordinated effort to separate her from Zaid, to force her out of his life. Instead of returning to her office, Janelle went directly to Zaid's. His assistant tried to stop her, saying he was in a meeting, but she pushed past her and opened the door. Zaid looked up in surprise, then concern when he saw her expression. Janelle, what's wrong? The 2 men he was meeting with turned to stare at her. Janelle hesitated, suddenly aware of the scene she was creating. I'm sorry to interrupt. I need to speak with you. It's urgent. Zaid immediately stood. Gentlemen, we'll continue this later. After they left, closing the door behind them, he moved to Janelle. What happened? Wordlessly, she handed him the folder. He opened it, his expression darkening as he looked through the contents. My father gave you these. She nodded. He made it clear that if I don't end things with you and leave Dubai after my contract ends, these photos and that article will be published. Zaid's jaw clenched. I'll handle this. He has no right to threaten you. Zaid, this isn't just about me. Look at those photos. Think about what this would mean for Palm Heights, for your company. A scandal like this could damage everything you've worked for. I don't care. His voice was firm. I won't let them manipulate us like this. But maybe they're right, Janelle said softly. Maybe we've been fooling ourselves, thinking we could overcome all the obstacles between us. Don't say that. Zaid took her hands. Don't let them make you doubt what we have. I'm not doubting what we have. I'm being realistic about the world we live in. She pulled her hands away. I need time to think, Zaid. The foundation ceremony is in 3 days. Let's just focus on making that a success, and then we can figure out where we go from here. He looked like he wanted to argue, but instead nodded. All right, but this isn't over, Janelle. I won't let my family dictate my future. Our future. Back at her apartment that evening, Janelle explained everything to Amira, who was furious. They're blackmailing you. This is outrageous. It's reality, Janelle said tiredly. This is the world Zaid comes from. Power, control, family dynasties. Maybe I was naive to think we could just ignore all that. So what are you going to do? Give in? Walk away from him? Janelle stared out the window at the Dubai skyline, the lights of the city reflecting in her eyes. I don't know. Part of me wants to fight for him, for us. but another part wonders if it's worth the cost. The only person who can answer that is you, sis. Amira put an arm around her shoulders. But whatever you decide, I'm with you. And for what it's worth, I've seen how that man looks at you. That's not something that comes along every day. The next 2 days passed in a blur of final preparations for the ceremony. Janelle and Zaid maintained a professional relationship at work, though the tension between them was palpable. He tried several times to talk about their situation, but she deflected, focusing on the project details. The night before the ceremony, Janelle received a text from Zaid. "We need to talk. Meet me at the site in an hour." She stared at the message, knowing this conversation couldn't be postponed any longer. She texted back a simple yes and went to change. The Palm Heights site was quiet at night, the construction equipment silent under the stars. Security lights cast long shadows across the foundation that would soon support Zaid's dream project. He was waiting for her near the center, where the community hub would eventually stand. "Thank you for coming," he said as she approached. "I wasn't sure you would." "I said I needed time to think. I didn't say I was giving up on us." Hope flickered in his eyes. "And have you? Thought about it?" "I've thought about little else." She moved closer to him. "Your father is right about one thing, Zaid. There will be consequences if we stay together, for both of us. I know, and I'm prepared for that." "Are you? Really?" She looked around at the site. "This project means everything to you. It's your legacy, your statement of independence. What happens if it's overshadowed by scandal? If your family withdraws support? Then I'll find other investors, build something else." He took her hands. "Janelle, when I started Palm Heights, I thought it was the most important thing in my life. But then I met you and I realized there are more important legacies than buildings." Her heart swelled at his words. "Zaid, let me finish. I've spent these past 2 days thinking too. About what matters most to me, about the kind of man I want to be." He pulled a small box from his pocket. "This was my grandmother's. She gave it to me before she died, told me to save it for a woman who made me brave." He opened the box to reveal a stunning emerald ring, the stone catching the security lights and reflecting them back like a small green fire. "I'm not formally proposing. Not yet. It's too soon, and we have too much to figure out first." He closed the box, pressing it into her hand. "But I want you to have this as a promise, that whatever comes tomorrow, whatever my family does or says, I choose you. And I will keep choosing you every day, for as long as you'll let me." Tears filled Janelle's eyes. "Zaid, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll stand with me tomorrow. Not hiding, not pretending we're just colleagues. Say you'll face whatever comes next by my side." Looking into his eyes, Janelle felt the last of her doubts fade away. This man, who had been raised in a world of privilege and expectation, was willing to risk everything for her. How could she do any less for him? "Yes," she whispered. "I'll stand with you tomorrow. And all the days after." He pulled her into his arms, kissing her with a passion that left her breathless. When they finally broke apart, he pressed his forehead to hers. "Whatever they throw at us, we'll face it together." "Together," she agreed. The day of the foundation ceremony dawned bright and clear. The Palm Heights site had been transformed overnight, with a stage, seating for hundreds of guests, and elegant decorations befitting the high-profile event. Janelle arrived early with Amira, who had insisted on being there for moral support. As the project architect, she had responsibilities throughout the ceremony, including a brief presentation on the design philosophy behind Palm Heights. "You ready for this?" Amira asked as they surveyed the growing crowd of Dubai's elite. "As ready as I'll ever be," Janelle replied, smoothing her designer dress, a gift from Zaid that she'd initially resisted but eventually accepted. She spotted Samira and Ibrahim al-Rami near the front, speaking with what appeared to be government officials. Layla al-Mansouri was there too, looking stunning in an expensive gown. Her family gathered around her like a protective shield. Zaid found them moments later, handsome in a perfectly tailored suit. His eyes lit up when he saw Janelle, and he didn't hesitate to kiss her cheek in greeting despite the many eyes watching. "You look beautiful," he whispered. "Both of you. he added with a smile for Amira. Nice suit, Amira replied. Very Prince Charming. I try. His expression grew more serious as he turned back to Janelle. My father wants to speak with me before the ceremony begins. Last-minute details, supposedly. Are you sure it's not about... She glanced meaningfully at the crowd. Probably is, but it doesn't matter. My mind is made up. He squeezed her hand. I'll see you on stage. As he walked away, Amira whispered, He's got it bad for you, sis. The feeling's mutual, Janelle admitted. The ceremony began with speeches from city officials and major investors, followed by a presentation on the economic impact of Palm Heights. Janelle watched from the side of the stage, waiting for her turn to speak. She could see Zaid seated in the front row, his parents beside him, their expressions carefully neutral. When it was her turn, Janelle took the stage with confidence, presenting the design vision for Palm Heights with passion and clarity. She spoke about creating spaces that fostered community, that honored tradition while embracing innovation. As she talked, she could see Zaid watching her with pride, and the feeling gave her strength. After her presentation, the Master of Ceremonies announced, And now to officially break ground on this landmark project, please welcome the visionary behind Palm Heights, Mr. Zaid Al-Rami. The applause was enthusiastic as Zaid took the stage. He shook Janelle's hand formally, but his eyes conveyed so much more as she prepared to leave the stage. Stay, he whispered. Please. Understanding what he intended, she nodded slightly and remained beside him as he turned to address the crowd. Thank you all for being here today, he began. Palm Heights represents the future of Dubai, a future built on respect for our traditions, while embracing the diversity and innovation that make our city great. He paused, his gaze finding his parents in the front row. For too long I've allowed others to define what that means, to dictate which traditions are worth honoring and which can be set aside. Today, as we break ground on this project, I'm also breaking ground on a new chapter in my life. A murmur ran through the crowd as Zaid took Janelle's hand openly. Many of you know Ms. Brooks as the brilliant architect behind Palm Heights. What you may not know is that she is also the woman who has changed my life, who has shown me what it means to live with courage and authenticity. Janelle could see Samira's face tighten with anger, Ibrahim's jaw clenching. Layla looked shocked, then furious. Some will say this is inappropriate, Zaid continued, that I should keep my personal life separate from business. But Palm Heights is more than business to me. It's a statement about the world I want to help build, a world where people are judged by their character and contributions, not by where they come from or what they look like. He turned to face Janelle directly. Ms. Brooks, Janelle has taught me that lesson. And in doing so, she's made this project, and me, better than I ever imagined possible. The crowd was silent now, watching the drama unfold. Janelle could feel hundreds of eyes on them, but in that moment, only Zaid mattered. I know there will be consequences for speaking so openly, he said, his voice carrying across the hushed audience. But I've learned that some principles are worth the cost. Some people are worth any price. He turned back to the audience. Today we break ground on Palm Heights. But more importantly, we break ground on a future where courage and integrity matter more than convention and appearance. With that, he led Janelle to where the ceremonial shovel waited. Together they turned the first soil on the project they had created together. The applause that followed was scattered at first, then grew stronger as more people joined in. Not everyone was clapping. Samira and Ibrahim remained seated, their expressions thunderous. Layla had already left her seat, disappearing into the crowd. As they left the stage, Zaid whispered, "Are you okay?" "Never better," Janelle replied, squeezing his hand. The rest of the ceremony passed in a blur. Afterwards, as guests mingled during the reception, Janelle found herself the center of attention. Some curious, some approving, some clearly disapproving, but too polite to show it openly. Amira stayed close, providing backup when needed. "You two certainly know how to make a statement," she murmured, as they watched Zaid across the room, surrounded by well-wishers. "It wasn't planned. At least not like that." Janelle couldn't help smiling. "He's something else, isn't he?" "He is, and he's all in, sis. That man just risked everything for you in front of the most powerful people in Dubai. Before Janelle could respond, she felt a presence behind her. Turning, she found herself face to face with Samira Al-Rami. "Ms. Brooks," Samira said, her voice tight with controlled anger. "A word, please." Amira started to object, but Janelle shook her head. "It's okay. I'll handle this." She followed Samira to a quiet corner of the reception area. The older woman turned to face her, her elegant features set in a mask of disapproval. "That was quite a performance," Samira said coldly. "You've manipulated my son very effectively." "I haven't manipulated anyone, Mrs. Al-Rami. Zaid makes his own decisions. Decisions influenced by infatuation, by rebellion against his upbringing. He doesn't understand the damage he's doing to his reputation, to our family name." Janelle met her gaze steadily. "I think he understands perfectly. He just values different things than you do. Such as a temporary affair with a foreign woman who will never understand our world, our traditions." Samira's voice dripped with disdain. "This will end badly, Ms. Brooks. When the excitement fades, when the reality of what he sacrificed sinks in, Zaid will resent you. And where will you be then? Alone in a country that will never truly accept you, with a career tainted by scandal." The words stung, touching on Janelle's deepest fears. But she remembered Zaid's promise, the feel of his grandmother's ring in her hand, and found her strength. "You don't know your son as well as you think you do, Mrs. Al-Rami. He's stronger than you give him credit for, more principled. And if this ends badly, as you predict, then I'll handle that too. But I won't walk away from something real just because it's difficult, or because it doesn't fit neatly into your vision of his life." Samira's eyes narrowed. "You think you love him?" "I know I do," Janelle replied without hesitation. "Enough to fight for him even against his own family if necessary, but also enough to want what's best for him, including reconciliation with you if that's possible." Something shifted in Samira's expression, not acceptance, not yet, but perhaps the first crack in her resistance. "We shall see, Ms. Brooks. We shall see." As Samira walked away, Zaid appeared at Janelle's side. "What did my mother want? To warn me that I'm making a terrible mistake, that we both are. And what did you tell her? That some mistakes are worth making." She smiled up at him. "And that I love you." His face lit up with joy. "Say that again." "I love you, Zaid Al-Rami. Despite all the complications, despite your family, despite the uncertain future." He pulled her into his arms, not caring who saw. "I love you too, Janelle Brooks, and our future isn't uncertain at all. It's whatever we decide to make it, together." 6 months later, Janelle stood on the balcony of their new apartment, watching the sunset paint the Dubai skyline in shades of gold and pink. Behind her, she could hear Amira laughing with Zaid as they prepared dinner in the kitchen. Her sister had extended her visit indefinitely, taking a job with Zaid's community center project that had officially launched last month. The center, now named after Zaid's grandmother, was already making a difference in the lives of young people from disadvantaged neighborhoods. Palm Heights was rising from the desert, the first structures taking shape according to Janelle's design. Her contract with the architectural firm had ended, but she had stayed in Dubai, starting her own practice with Zaid's encouragement and support. To her surprise, her association with the Al-Rami name had brought her more clients, not fewer, as Dubai's elite sought to work with the woman who had captured Zaid's heart. Relations with Zaid's family remained complicated. Ibrahim had eventually accepted their relationship, if not warmly, then at least with resignation. Business was business after all, and his son's happiness ultimately mattered to him. Samira was taking longer to come around, though there had been small moments of connection, a compliment on Janelle's work, an invitation to tea, a gift on her birthday. The emerald ring that had been Zaid's grandmother's now rested on Janelle's finger, a formal proposal having followed 3 months after the foundation ceremony. They planned to marry in the spring, with a ceremony that would blend both their traditions, both their worlds. It hadn't been easy. There had been gossip, raised eyebrows, even a few lost business opportunities. But for every closed door, new ones had opened. And through it all, they had faced each challenge together, growing stronger as a couple with each obstacle overcome. Zaid joined her on the balcony, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "What are you thinking about?" "How different my life is from what I imagined when I first came to Dubai." "Better or worse?" he asked, his breath warm against her neck. "Different," she repeated. "Harder in some ways, but also more meaningful, more real." He turned her to face him. "Any regrets?" Janelle thought about the journey that had brought them here, the risks taken, the confrontations faced, the prejudices challenged. She thought about the woman she had been before meeting Zaid and the woman she was now. Stronger, more certain of herself and what she wanted, more willing to fight for it. "Not one," she said, reaching up to touch his face. "Every step led me here, to you." How could I regret that? As the last rays of sunlight faded from the sky, Zaid pulled her closer. "The desert didn't expect you, Janelle Brooks, but it needed you. I needed you. And now you have me," she whispered against his lips. "For as long as you want me." "Forever then," he said, and kissed her as the first stars appeared in the desert sky. In the distance, Palm Heights rose from the sand, a testament to what they had built together. But their greatest creation wasn't made of steel and glass. It was the life they were building, day by day, choice by choice, a love strong enough to withstand the desert heat, deep enough to find water where others saw only sand. A love that against all odds had bloomed in the desert that never expected her.